John, I want to talk about the second half as a whole, and I saw a lot of, I saw a lot of, again, comments on the streams last night, social media, speaking to people who went to the game, and they said, both on the pitch, in the stands, around the ground, it was one of the worst halves of football they've experienced. Just everything feels flat. And
we were totally outsung by the PSV support that was there. Empty
seats from 80 minutes on, maybe. Yeah. A few boos at the final whistle, which you never hear. I don't know. I wasn't in the stadium, so I can't answer. But if the manager's losing the stadium, and it feels like he might be losing some of the stadium, that's almost it, isn't it? Like if the stadium are outside.
Chloe said in the final word on Monday that for the first time, it felt like the crowd had turned. And it was even worse last night. And of course, it's a cup crowd. It's a different crowd, the cup games. They're normally more favoured because they're probably people who aren't seeing them every week.
And it's the Champions League European nights.
But they were flat. They were in the second half it just died. There was no atmosphere left, and people were just moaning and just holding their heads in their hands and, listening to PSV's fans jumping up and down and screaming and shouting.
It's interesting because the Liverpool fan base, again, a lot who go to the games, different people act differently, but it's very rare people are like booing the team or shouting the manager out or abusive. What tends to happen is apathy.
Yeah.
And then just heads go, you know what, it's 3-1 with 15 minutes to go. It's Liverpool in Europe. We stay because we can win this. Everyone's getting off, and by the time they're clapping the end of the stadium, it's empty. And I do think at that point, mate, that's a big concern for the manager, because I don't think anyone's actively rooting against him. He's like angry, but it feels like everyone's just like, this is it. Like it almost feels inevitable, and that is almost, if you're the owners of the football club and you see that, it reminds me a lot of how Brendan Rodgers left. There was no one screaming for Rodgers, he's got to go, banners and stuff, but it was like walking out the ground, just thinking, what's the point?
I thought on Saturday it was anger. I thought the fans were angry. I think last night there was like sympathy for Slot, but in like a way we don't want sympathy, as in like
apathy.
I think he's gone now. That was how I think that's how I felt.
What's the point? What's the point of supporting? It's
worse because we won the title not very long ago. And he's got the same players. I mean, the players he's bought, apart from Kerkez, they weren't playing last night. It was the team that won the title. So people just don't understand what the hell's going on, and you can't help but blame the coach. I mean, on Saturday, the substitutions were just ridiculous, and the crowd were just, unhappy about it. And, last night, you just began to think, we're just making the same old mistakes. Gravenberch going back into the back four. You've got Isak on and he's not touching the ball. He had one shot, but apart from that, he didn't do anything. Gakpo's coming inside every time, giving the ball away. Kerkez is, bombing down the wing and not getting a pass and leaving himself way out of position for the fourth goal. I mean, Gakpo had gone on this. Gakpo picked the ball up, came inside. Kerkez goes wide and Gakpo gives the ball away, and there's this huge gap down our left-hand side, which they just exploited really quickly.
John, again, I'm sorry if you were there, I wasn't, but does it feel a little bit like the Rodgers thing, where it feels like he's half lost? Not all of the crowd, but it does feel like there's a section.
I think he's lost most of the crowd, to be honest. And because you can't keep losing football. We've just lost 2 home games by 3 clear goals. And that's our three games on the bounce where we conceded 3 and not scored. Well, we scored last night. But, to lose that many goals and not really look threatening at the other end, that can't go on. People just think, I mean, we're looking at West Ham, and, a month ago, we'd have looked forward to, murdering them. They've turned the corner themselves recently. So that's going to be a torrid time for us. And, how many more games can you lose before the manager has to lose his job?
And it's interesting because the question's obviously being asked, and I get it, but the saving grace was meant to be Europe. Like, the Premier League's bad, but listen, the Premier League's changed. I think we were all saying at times, it's a bit physical, maybe Liverpool haven't got the right squad, but if they get to January, they can maybe, they bring a centre-half in, they can play a bit more physicality up front and try and match the way the league's gone. But this is Europe. And PSV didn't go long ball.
No.
PSV weren't taking corners and throw-ins and stopping the game and winding you up and delayed set pieces and stuff. They were just counter-attacks, or they were just playing through, or you were making massive individual mistakes. And I think that's why yesterday felt so downhearted. And that maybe I was deluded and maybe I was a fool, but I was thinking, you know what, maybe this team is just built for Europe. Maybe they can do something. And they got bopped off the park in the second half.
That's where Wirtz comes in, isn't it? And of course he's injured as well, so he can't play in Europe, which is the place you would expect him to thrive. I mean, the thing about Europe is it's going to save his job in the short term if he can keep winning football matches in Europe. And of course last night he goes and loses one. Because if you can stay long enough in the Champions League, you earn money. And if you manage to qualify for the Champions League next season, you know there's money coming, and that's what the owners are going to look at first. They're not going to look at the games being lost. They're going to look at the money. That's what kept Wenger in a job for so long. He kept qualifying for Europe every year. The fans hated his guts, but it didn't matter because the people that mattered were the owners who cared about the money. And it took ages to get Wenger out when he was no good anymore. And that may well be saving Slot's job, the fact that we're still reasonably placed in Europe. Maybe,
but I don't know. At this point, I said yesterday, maybe it wasn't motivating.
Of course, we got him into Milan away next.
And Marseille away as well. It's not going to be a battle of laughs. And it's interesting because I said yesterday, unfortunately, and I might be wrong, and I hope Arne Slot, if he's here, goes into the next 20 games and everyone's delighted. But like, it just doesn't feel like that's going to happen. And if you ask me now, Steve, your mortgage is on the line, what's going to happen on Sunday? I'd say we're probably going to get beat.
Yeah.
And if we're feeling like that, unless the manager, he will lose his job if that happens, potentially. Or he has to change 5, 6, 7 lads, because I go back to it, if they're letting him down, but you keep picking them.
If these lads, if you keep picking he will?
No, that's my point.
He's so arrogant that he almost, it's almost like he can't change.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
He won't. He 100% won't. He won't. I think Alisson will come back in if he's better. He'll still stick with Slobosly right back.
I don't know. He's halfway up front only because it looks like TK's out. But if I'm the manager, and again, I look like him in terms of my haircut, he knows more about football than I'll ever know in my life, but I'm just going, listen, if I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose my job trying to save my job. Gomez, you're in. Robbo, you're back in. Whoever, like Chiesa, get on the pitch. If you want to start Rio and Gamo, start Rio and Gamo.
I love Calvin Ramsey playing right back because he's a fullback. He knows how to play fullback.
And it just doesn't feel like...
Jones has no clue how to be a fullback.
Because I feel, I go back to it, you feel sympathy for him, but if you keep picking these lads and they keep letting you down and you've got options, then that's kind of on you as well.
Well, you look at Rio, don't you, and he left Chelsea because he didn't think he was going to get minutes. Now, if he comes to us, he sat on the bench because we're winning games and they can't get on, that's absolutely fine, but we're losing every single game and he's getting brought on only when we're 3-2 goals down. Why is he going to stick around as well? We've got a very potentially very good player there who we're just not using.
Yeah, it wasn't easy to watch that second half, John. And unfortunately, and I go back, I'm just reading through some of the incidents there. It was a combination of Liverpool errors, some nearly moments, but not quite moments. Like Liverpool creates a few chances, can't quite convert them, goalie making saves or whatever. But every time they came forward, and it wasn't loads, by the way. I think at one point I saw a stat, we'd had 20 shots, 7 on target. They'd had 7 shots, 4 on target, and they scored 3 goals. Yeah. And
they were clinical, and we're not. That's the thing. That's the difference.
So ultimately, what we're saying is we can't defend them, we can't attack, and the midfield's all over the place.
I thought at half time it's men and boys here. We were all over them, and then the second half I thought it's men and boys here, and it was the other way around.
Is it a mentality thing then, John? Because I thought I go back to it. They responded to the adversity of the first goal well. The way Liverpool played from 2-1 down.
Oh no, they'd gone after 2-1. Yeah. But before they scored that second goal, they looked a different side. They came out deliberately to attack our open spaces, whereas they didn't do that in the first half. They must have had a look and thought, you know what, if we did this, this, and this, then we'll get through. And the second goal showed it. I mean, yes, there were errors by our players, but the slickness of that goal was terrific.
Ian, John mentions there they were gone at 2-1. That's a massive worry for the manager.
Yeah.
If his players are gone again after another goal, which by the way, it's 1 goal. Like, you're not 3-0 down at this point, and your heads fell off. Like, you're trailing by 1 goal at Anfield after 55 minutes. Liverpool can win that game quite easily. But like John said, I agree. It looked like they'd gone. That is, I don't know, because I go back to it, I feel sympathy for everyone involved. They've had the summer was horrendous for various reasons. We know with situations, there's been a lot of change, there's injuries and stuff. But you can't just keep losing. And I go back to it, the players aren't going to change. So either the manager's got to change what he's doing, or the manager's got to change.
The thing that stood out was players stopped running.
Yeah.
They stopped chasing the ball. So they were watching as the ball played through them. And when you get your midfield players who just decide to watch what's going on rather than get involved, then you've got problems.
Ian, I do apologise because I'm going to drop the grenade of a question on your ear, but I think it's one we have to ask based on what John just said there, about players looking like, backing out to 50-50s recently at the weekend. Players backing out to 50-50s, players not running, sprinting back. I saw Curtis Jones' interview after the game, for example, but I think it's the third goal where he's jogging back. And again, I'm not pointing in about them. 50-50s with Gakpo, Salah not getting in the right position, players not sprinting around, unless your name's Dominic Szoboszlai, you weren't sprinting around.
All of them were the same. Gravenbach was the same, even Szoboszlai, was not at the level he was in the first half. So,
has he lost the dressing room is the question then? Because if the players aren't putting it in for him and not going to 50-50s, has he lost them?
That's what it looks like to me.
That's devastating, isn't it?
It is. And that's what it looks like. And that comes down to what he's doing. It's almost like there's no challenge there for them to play well, because they know they're going to play the next game anyway. And then if you're sat on that bench and you're saying, why can I get in this team? When are you going to come in and say, oh, please? There shouldn't be a motivation to play for Liverpool Football Club, with one of the best club in the world. But at the minute, I don't think the manager is helping get the best out of the players that he's got. I mentioned it this week on social media about one of the first acts he ever did when he came in was he substituted a player because he was losing too many duels in the first half. We're losing duels all over the pitch now, and I know he can't change 11 players, but he needs to do something. He needs to make a statement.
You come back to his options, though, don't you? He's got four midfield players, and they're the only four he ever plays. He's got rid of Tyler Morton and McConnell, so there's no one behind them. There's Endo, he doesn't trust him. So where's his option? What's he going to do?
Well, the question you got to ask then, isn't it? Was it his choice to get rid of them players, or was it Richard Hughes saying, listen, we're going to get rid of them players on you?
Whoever it was, we're pretty light.
We are, and
for a team that spent so much money.
But on the flip side, I, for example, at the weekend when Gakpo bottles a 50-50, when Salah doesn't put that challenge in before, and I go back to it, they were good players, and attacking wise, both of them created things in the first half a little bit, but I wonder if there's a case of I've got to set the tone here. Do I have to just throw someone on and say, listen, I can't accept that happening? Because I go back, it's like a standards thing, and that's where I go back to the question, has he lost them? Because the lads on the pitch clearly aren't throwing themselves, putting their bodies on the line for it, and the lads on the bench are probably frustrated. I saw Chiesa come on, for example, and look so wound up. At one point he just throws a fella on the floor because he's all over the place, and it's I'm just trying to think what can change, and I'm sad to say, but at this point the only logical conclusion I've got is they might have to change the manager, and I feel such sympathy for him because what he delivered last year and the summer he's had and everything they've been through, but I'm struggling to find any other solutions.
Where do you find a manager in November?
Listen, you're Liverpool, that's someone's job, innit? Yeah. Like someone above them, they found Slot, so...
But you find them at the end of a season, that's a different ball game, November.
But you're Liverpool.
Yeah.
So if how many people would walk out of their jobs? Listen, the other day, Wolves managed to get him, and again, different levels, but he managed to get a lad who's about to get promoted out of the team.
The only manager in the Prem who I thought they would be interested in who might come would be Areola. Otherwise,
I think
we don't want them, or So other than that, you looked at, you've heard Nagelsmann talked about, and he's not moving until after the World Cup, even if you wanted him. And that everyone's got commitments. If you're a decent manager, you've got commitments.
Everyone's talking interim stuff and Jurgen's aim, and it's just like, I hate the fact that we even having to have this conversation. And I really hope
drag him away from the City.
I really hope that again, if he stays, and it looks again, there's no signs immediately that he's going to lose his job, but I really hope there's a reaction. But you can listen.
You can't keep losing football.
Liverpool have lost 9 of 12, and there's been no reaction in. So why? I would be an idiot, I think, to say they're going to get a reaction on Sunday. that was a clip from the Final Word show. If you'd like to check out the full show, head on over to redmenplus.com.